sometimes I show people the synagogue, and one of the things I try to show people is, and explain the meaning of it, is the walls of the sanctuary. They're made of Jerusalem stone, and it is not the stone like it, it is the Jerusalem stone, brought here from Israel. And one of the messages I think that these walls represent is that this is our Jerusalem. Not all Jews have to live in Israel. The other message you know only when you know the story. And the story is, or rather history, and the history is that the team of stonemasons who carved the stone and then built it together, built it here, are 50% Israelis and 50% Palestinians. They worked together to build this place. And today, it is fair to say that the peace between Israel and Palestine is very, very, very far away. But it doesn't mean we shouldn't have a vision of it. And I think that each time we're here, we reinforce this vision. On the 18th of February 2022, a bit over a year ago, just a few days the war broke out in Ukraine. The LJS, this synagogue, Kingston Liberal Synagogue, and the World Union for Progressive Judaism organized a special Shabbat to express solidarity with Ukraine. It was also Friday night service, similar to this one. But the speaker was Rabbi Yulia Gris from the progressive community Shirat Hayam in Odessa, Ukraine. Rabbi Yulia Gris joined us on Zoom from Odessa and said, among many other things, she said, "Panic is very contagious, but fortunately, emotional contagion is possible not only with negativity." She said that when one person smiles, it passes to people around. When one person helps another and is kind to somebody else, this kindness spreads from one person to another. And this was 6 days before the war started. This year has unearthed the cruelty of human nature, but it also has shown the best in humanity. People opened their homes to refugees. People supported those who suffer. Sometimes this support was with kind words. Sometimes with listening and giving them time. Sometimes with money. In the world of war, we need to continue showing kindness. In the world of division, we need to remain standing together. And in the world of weapons, we need to build homes and bring message of hope. War is one of humanity's most complex and challenging ethical issues. How can one balance the need for justice and security with respect and value for human life and peace? What are the moral limits of war? How can one prevent unnecessary violence and suffering if the war is happening? Judaism as a religion has grappled with these questions for thousands of years. We've been here long enough in this world, and it happened that our ancestors lived through many wars. As a result, Judaism has developed a nuanced approach to war, and that is neither violent and aggressive, nor naive and purely pacifist. Perhaps any rabbi will begin the address or sermon about war with the main and key principle of Jewish ethics, which is the sanctity of human life. Every person has a divine spark in them, according to deep Jewish belief. Therefore, killing another person violates God's will and diminishes God's presence. One of the 10 commandments is, "You shall not murder," which is that this commandment applies to all people, not just to Jewish people. The Talmud elaborates, whoever destroys a single life is considered to have destroyed the entire world, and whoever saves a single life is considered to have saved the entire world. Judaism also recognizes that sometimes killing may be necessary to protect oneself or others from harm. Therefore, Judaism doesn't see violence and war as always wrong. Instead, it accepts that certain kinds of war may be ethically justified, and when they are aimed at preventing or stopping aggression, oppression, or injustice. Jewish tradition developed sets of rules of how war should be conducted in accordance with the sanctity of life. Some of these rules include limiting collateral damage and unnecessary suffering. The Torah says, "When you besiege the city, you shall not destroy its trees by wielding an axe against them, for you may eat from them." Deuteronomy chapter 20, verse 19 and 20. This means that Jews should respect nature, and later tradition extrapolated this principle and demanded that soldiers should avoid harming innocent lives during the war. It's very interesting that it started from nature, from preserving nature, and then extrapolated to people, and not the other way around. In Jewish thought, I found it very symbolic and interesting. Seeking peace before waging war is another principle. When you approach a city, the same chapter in Deuteronomy says, when you approach a city to wage war against it, you must propose peace to it. This means that people should avoid war at all costs. But it's understood that sometimes war may be the only way to resolve problems and bring peace when all other attempts have failed. Rabbi John Rayner, Holocaust survivor and spiritual and intellectual leader of liberal Judaism, and especially this synagogue, wrote, "It's not enough to pray for peace. We have to work for it, to denounce injustice not only when it's committed against us, but also when it's committed against others, to defend human rights, not only our own, but also theirs, to insist that peace requires sacrifice of pride, of wealth, of territory, to practice and promote the way of moderation, compromise and reconciliation, and to build bridges of respect and understanding, trust and friendship across the chasms of the divine, that divides humanity." And I would like to add to this. If Rabbi Rayner's vision is far from reality and the war is already happening, it's not enough to pray for its end. We need to save as many lives as we can, accept refugees, organize transport, and gives them houses and jobs. In other words, in the world of inhumanity, we need to be human. In the world of indifference, we need to be compassionate. In the world of anger, we need to be kind. And in the future, for each destroyed building, we need to build 2 new. Every week, for about a year now, every week, at least once, I receive a text or email asking for help finding a home or a job for a Ukrainian refugee. A year seems like a long time, and it feels like we need to do something about it. What we can do, and it feels like we can't do much sometimes. It's far away, it's out of our reach, it's out of our power, but we can do a lot. Individuals who need our help and support are not too far from us, and we can help them now. Peace in Ukraine is far away, but it doesn't mean we shouldn't have a vision for it. And it doesn't mean we should stop supporting those who suffer. Rabbi Nachman, a Ukrainian rabbi, lived in a turbulent time of pogroms and violent anti-Semitism. Could have become bitter and could have become closed within his own community, but nevertheless, he didn't pray that his enemies would be killed. He wrote a prayer for peace. And I would like to ask all of us to stand now on the anniversary of the beginning of war in Ukraine, to stand and to say the words that he wrote a few hundred years ago. Let's read it together. May it be your will to annul wars and the shedding of blood from the universe, and to extend peace, great and wondrous, in the universe. Nor again shall one nation raise a sword against another, and they shall learn war no more. But let all the residents of earth recognize and know the innermost truth, that we are not come into this world for quarrel and division, nor for hate and jealousy, contrariness and bloodshed, but we come in this world to recognize and to know you, and may you be blessed forever. May it be God's will.